Stress after 65, the silent heart killer. There's something I need to tell you, something many doctors don't say out loud, and it might surprise you. When we think about stress, we often imagine a busy office, traffic jams, deadlines, raising kids. But what if I told you that one of the most dangerous types of stress doesn't happen when you're 40 and working full time, but after you turn 65, when life is supposed to slow down? You see, stress doesn't just disappear with retirement. It simply changes its shape. It becomes quieter, sneakier. It hides behind loneliness, behind the fear of falling ill, behind the loss of someone you love, or even behind the question, am I still needed? And here's the part that truly matters. This kind of stress doesn't just weigh on your mood. It slowly weakens your heart day after day in ways that are easy to ignore until it's too late. That's why today we need to talk about it. Not with fear, but with honesty. Because once you understand how this silent stress affects your body and your heart, you'll also discover that there's so much you can do to protect yourself. If you're new here, welcome. This is Better Heart Senior, where we bring you simple, clear, and powerful heart health tips made especially for life after 65. If you care about your heart or someone else's, make sure to follow and stay with us. Your heart deserves this. Now let's begin with the most common and dangerous mistake many seniors make about stress, and they don't even know they're making it. I don't feel stressed. The most dangerous mistake. Let me ask you something. Have you ever said, I don't really feel stressed? If so, you're not alone. In fact, that's exactly what makes this so dangerous. Many people over 65 truly believe they've left stress behind. No more bosses, no more deadlines, no kids to rush to school. Life seems quieter. But here's what no one tells you. Stress in older age is different, and it often doesn't feel like stress at all. It doesn't always come with a racing heart or sweaty palms. It doesn't always make you cry or panic. Sometimes it just shows up as a constant tightness in your shoulders, or a strange fatigue that doesn't go away even after a full night's sleep, or waking up at 3 a.m. and not knowing why, or snapping at someone you love and wondering, why did I just do that? This kind of stress is subtle, it's slow, and it doesn't shout, it whispers. That's why it's so easy to ignore. But inside your body, your heart is listening. Every time you feel tense, even if you don't notice it, your heart does. Your blood pressure creeps up, your blood vessels tighten, and over time, your heart begins to carry more than it can handle. That's why saying, I don't feel stressed can actually be a red flag, because many older adults don't recognize the signals. They think they're just getting older. But in reality, their body is waving a quiet little flag that says, please help. Understanding this, truly seeing how hidden stress affects your body, is the first step to protecting your heart. And once we see it, we can do something about it. So now that you know stress isn't always loud, let's look at what it's actually doing inside your body. What happens to your heart when stress stays too long? That's what we'll uncover next. What stress really does to your heart after 65. Stress may be invisible, but its effects on your body are very real, especially on your heart. And the older we get, the more sensitive our hearts become to these changes. When you feel stress, even low-level stress that hides behind daily worries or silent loneliness, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. Think of cortisol like an internal alarm system. It's useful in short bursts, but when it stays high for too long, like when you're carrying quiet stress day after day, that alarm never turns off. This keeps your body in a kind of low-level emergency mode. Your blood pressure rises, your blood vessels constrict, your heart beats harder, even when you're just sitting still. Over time, this constant tension wears down the walls of your arteries and puts strain on your heart muscle. It's like running a car engine all day without ever letting it cool down. And here's where it becomes even more serious. Chronic stress not only increases your risk of high blood pressure, but it also raises your chances of developing inflammation in your arteries. That inflammation can trigger plaque buildup, the same kind that causes heart attacks and strokes. For people over 65, the danger is even greater. That's because as we age, our bodies become less efficient at handling stress hormones. What might have been a small spike in your 40s can turn into a big deal in your 70s. Your heart has to work harder to respond. Your recovery takes longer. And if stress becomes part of your daily routine, your heart health may quietly decline without you even noticing. But knowing this gives you power. It means the pressure you feel in your chest or the extra fatigue in your body isn't just old age. It could be your heart's way of saying, I'm under pressure. And it means there's something you can do, something that could ease that burden before it turns into something more serious. Now that you know how stress affects your heart from the inside out, let's talk about where this stress actually comes from. Because for seniors, it often looks very different from the stress we felt in our younger years. And that's what we'll explore next. The hidden sources of stress after 65. Stress doesn't always come from chaos. Sometimes it comes from silence. And for many people over 65, the sources of stress aren't loud or dramatic. They're quiet, familiar, and deeply personal. One of the most common and most overlooked causes is loneliness. It's not just about being physically alone. It's about feeling disconnected. Maybe your children live far away. Maybe your partner has passed. Or maybe you're surrounded by people but still feel invisible. That feeling, that sense of being unseen or forgotten, is a powerful form of emotional stress, and your heart feels it more than you know. Then there's the stress of caregiving. Many older adults find themselves taking care of a spouse who's ill or helping raise a grandchild. While love is at the center of these roles, they can quietly drain you, physically and emotionally. You may not complain, but your body is keeping score. Financial stress is another quiet weight. Even after retirement, worries don't retire. Medical bills, home repairs, the rising cost of groceries, these things add up. And when you lie awake at night wondering if your savings will last, your heart feels that tension. There's also something harder to describe, the stress of losing your sense of purpose. After decades of work, parenting, or caring for others, suddenly the phone rings less. The calendar is emptier. And you start to wonder, what now? That question may not seem stressful on the surface, but deep inside, it can stir anxiety and sadness that linger every day. These types of stress don't come with sirens or emergencies. They come with quiet moments. The silence in the room, the worry in your chest, the weight in your shoulders. And because they're so quiet, we often push them aside or convince ourselves they're normal. But they're not. They're signals. They're reminders that your heart still needs care, not just physically, but emotionally too. Now that we've uncovered where this hidden stress comes from, it's time to recognize how it shows up in your body, because the signs are there, and learning to spot them could make all the difference. Let's talk about those signs next. The warning signs your heart might be under stress. Your heart doesn't shout for help, it whispers, and if we're not paying attention, we miss those whispers until they become something serious. Many seniors believe that feeling tired, anxious, or off balance is just a part of getting older. But the truth is, some of these symptoms may actually be your heart reacting to hidden stress, and recognizing them early can change everything. One of the most common signs is unusual fatigue, not just feeling sleepy, but that kind of deep exhaustion that lingers even after a full night's sleep. You might feel like your energy is running on empty, even on quiet days. Another sign is changes in your heartbeat. If your heart skips, flutters, or beats faster when you're just sitting still, it could be your body's way of saying it's under pressure. And while occasional flutters can be harmless, persistent patterns should never be ignored. You might also notice shortness of breath during simple tasks. Maybe walking to the mailbox feels harder than it used to, or climbing stairs leaves you winded. These small changes can be early signals that stress is making your heart work overtime. Then there's the tightness in your chest, shoulders, or neck. Sometimes it feels like a weight pressing down. Other times it's just a dull ache you can't explain. Many seniors chalk this up to aging muscles, but it can also be linked to the way stress tenses your entire body, especially your cardiovascular system. Even forgetfulness or confusion can be a sign. When cortisol levels are high for long periods, they affect not just your heart, but your brain too. You might feel foggy, distracted, or more emotional than usual. These signs are your body's way of asking for help. They may not all happen at once. They may come and go, but they are not just part of getting older. They are messages, and listening to them can protect your heart before real damage occurs. Now that we've seen how stress can speak through your body, the question becomes, what happens if we ignore these signs for too long? What's the long-term cost of living with stress we never truly name? That's what we'll explore next. What happens when you carry stress for too long? Stress doesn't need to knock you down all at once to do real harm. In fact, the most dangerous kind is the one that builds slowly, day after day, without you even noticing. It sits quietly in the background, until one day it doesn't. When you carry stress in your body for too long, it becomes more than just an emotional burden. It starts changing how your heart works. High cortisol levels over weeks, months, or even years cause your blood vessels to stiffen. They lose their flexibility. That makes your heart pump harder to get blood through. And over time, that constant pressure can lead to high blood pressure, irregular heart rhythms, and even heart failure. Your heart is a muscle, but it's not made for constant tension. Imagine holding your fist tight for hours. Eventually, your hand would cramp and ache. Now imagine your heart doing something similar every day. That's what long-term stress can feel like inside your body. But that's not all. Stress increases inflammation in your bloodstream. That inflammation encourages plaque to build up in your arteries. And when those arteries get narrow or blocked, it raises your risk of heart attack and stroke, especially for people over 65. One powerful example comes from studies on caregivers. Older adults who care for a sick spouse or family member, often quietly and without help, show twice the risk of heart disease compared to those who don't. Not because they're doing something wrong, but because they're doing something hard and carrying the weight alone. The danger here isn't just the stress itself, it's the silence, the belief that stress is normal, that it's just part of aging, that you should tough it out. But the truth is, your heart needs relief just as much as your body does. And ignoring stress doesn't make it disappear. It just gives it more time to damage your health from the inside out. But don't lose hope. This doesn't have to be your story, because the heart, even after 65, still has the power to heal, to recover, and to grow stronger. And that's exactly what we'll talk about next. The good news: your heart can heal from stress even after 65. Here's something most people don't hear enough. Your heart is stronger than you think. Even after years of carrying quiet stress, even after 65, your heart still has the ability to heal. It's never too late. The science backs this up. Studies have shown that when older adults begin managing their stress in simple, consistent ways, their bodies respond. Blood pressure starts to drop. Heart rate becomes steadier. Inflammation levels go down. Even memory and sleep can improve. It doesn't take magic, just small, steady changes. One of the most encouraging findings comes from programs that teach breathing, light movement, and connection. Seniors who practice just a few minutes of deep breathing or gentle walking every day saw measurable improvements in cardiovascular function within weeks. Not months, weeks. That's because the heart is not just a pump. It's also a listener. And when you send it signals of safety, calm, and care, it responds, slowly but surely. Think of your heart like a garden. Even if it's been neglected or overworked, the moment you begin watering it again, removing the weeds, giving it light, it begins to grow. The same is true with stress. As you reduce the pressure on your nervous system, your heart begins to breathe easier. Your arteries relax, your rhythm returns to balance, and perhaps just as importantly, your outlook changes. When you take steps to care for your emotional well-being, you don't just protect your heart. You begin to feel more in control of your life. You remember that you matter, that peace is possible, that joy is not behind you, but still ahead. So if you felt like it's too late or that your body is too tired to change, I'm here to tell you, it's not. The heart is resilient. And now that you know it can recover, let's talk about the simple steps you can take today to start giving it the rest and relief it's been waiting for. 6 simple ways to ease stress and protect your heart after 65. Now that you know your heart can recover, the next question is, how do you help it? The good news is, you don't need expensive programs or complicated routines. In fact, the most powerful stress relievers are often the smallest habits, done with intention every day. Start with your breath. Just 2 minutes of slow, deep breathing each morning can calm your nervous system and signal safety to your heart. Inhale gently through your nose, hold for a moment, then exhale slowly through your mouth. It's simple, it's free, and it works. Movement also makes a difference. You don't need to go to the gym or break a sweat. A quiet walk around the block, even just 10 or 15 minutes a day, can reduce cortisol levels and help your blood pressure come down naturally. And if you can do it outdoors, even better. Fresh air and natural light are medicine for the heart. Connection is another powerful tool. Make it a point to talk to someone you trust every day, even for just a few minutes. A phone call, a visit, or even a friendly chat with a neighbor can remind your heart that you are not alone and that you still matter. Then at the end of the day, try something beautiful. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. A warm cup of coffee, a smile from someone you love, the sound of birds in the morning. Gratitude shifts your focus and helps your body relax, not just mentally, but physically. Be mindful of what you take in. The news, especially when repeated all day, can keep your stress response constantly triggered. Give yourself permission to stay informed, but limit exposure. Once a day is enough. The rest of your time belongs to peace, and don't underestimate the healing power of touch. If you live with someone you care about, a gentle hug can release oxytocin, a hormone that lowers stress and calms your heart. If you live alone, even placing a hand over your chest while breathing can create a similar response. These steps aren't flashy, but they're powerful. They remind your body that it's safe. They give your heart room to breathe again, and they're all within your reach. In the final part of this journey, we'll bring it all together with one powerful reminder that your heart at any age is still capable of joy, strength, and peace. Let's close this together. Your heart deserves peace, and so do you. So here we are. You've taken the time to listen, not just to this message, but to something deeper, to the quiet voice inside that's been saying, I'm tired, I'm carrying too much. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you're beginning to see that stress doesn't have to be your silent companion anymore. Your heart has been with you through everything, the joy, the loss, the laughter, the worry. It's worked without pause through every chapter of your life. And now in this season, it's asking for something simple: rest, relief, care. The truth is, peace is not out of reach. It's already around you, in your breath, in your steps, in the kindness of others, and in the small decisions you make each day to protect your heart, not just from illness, but from the weight it doesn't need to carry anymore. Maybe you're thinking, I wish I had done this years ago. But let me tell you this: today is enough. Now is enough. And your heart, right now, right here, is still strong enough to feel better, beat easier, and lead you toward a calmer, fuller life. So as you go forward, take with you this promise: it's never too late to choose peace, to choose yourself, to choose a life that feels lighter, freer, and more joyful. And if this message spoke to you, if you felt seen or understood, I invite you to stay connected. Follow Better Heart Senior, because your journey deserves support, your heart deserves attention, and you deserve to feel good in the years ahead. Let's keep walking this road together, one calm breath, one kind step, one peaceful day at a time.